Sir, thank you for your time today. NBC report from July on Hunter Biden. Headline: Hunter Biden has joined White House meetings as he stays close to the president post-debate. And in that story, there's a suggestion that privately it was on the table still. Publicly, they were going to say no pardon. What's your top line response to this move now?
You know, Joe Biden, for 50 years in public office, has always pridefully boasted about his word as a Biden. And I guess we now know that his word as a Biden is trash. For months, he and his White House spokespersons promised the American people they wouldn't pardon Hunter Biden. But not only did he lie to them about that, look at the scope of the pardon. It's far beyond the offenses for which he was convicted. It's any crime he committed whatsoever for 11 years, which raises the question, what crimes does Joe Biden think his son has been committing for the last decade plus? It also raised the question of whether Joe Biden is going to pardon his brother as well, who was up to his neck in the Biden family influence peddling operation. I would ask Joe Biden to commit not to pardon his brother, but again, we now know that his word as a Biden, especially about pardons, is trash.
Do you imagine that the incoming administration or even the Senate will try to continue an investigation into what has been alleged about the Bidens?
Well, Dana, I think we have to wait and see who else Joe Biden pardons. Because again, if he pardons his brother and maybe a sister, maybe some of Hunter Biden's corrupt businessmen, there may not be anything left to investigate, at least for criminal liability. I will say this, though, Joe Biden may come to regret this decision because having given his son a blanket pardon of 11 years to include time when Joe Biden was vice president, Hunter Biden now can't plead the fifth if he appears before Congress or appears before a grand jury. He has to testify about exactly what he was up to, for instance, when he was traveling to China on Air Force Two and meeting with Chinese communist princelings, or why he was being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to sit on a Ukrainian energy company's board for which he had no qualifications. So that may be one unintended consequence of this pardon that Joe Biden didn't fully think through.
Greg Stanton's a Democrat out of Arizona. He was one of the first to chime in on X. He said, "I respect President Biden, but I think he got this one wrong. This wasn't a politically motivated prosecution. Hunter committed the felonies, was convicted by a jury of his peers." There will be a lot more reaction on this later today. In the meantime, Kash Patel has been nominated to be the head of the FBI. Here is Trey Gowdy's summation of Kash Patel as he knows him from last night.
You would not know the foundation or the funding of the Steele dossier. You would not know about FISA abuse. You would not know about Fusion GPS had it not been for the hard work of a guy named Kash Patel. He is quite candidly the most unfairly maligned person that I worked with the entire 8 years I was in Washington.
Senator, how well do you know him, and is he the right guy for this job?
Well, I don't know Kash as well as Trey knows him, obviously, having sat on the House Intelligence Committee and worked with Kash on that committee. But I do know that Trey is right when he talks about all that Kash worked as a member of that committee staff and then at the White House to expose the corruption and wrongdoing at the FBI and the Department of Justice that unfairly targeted Donald Trump and those around him in his first campaign. I'd also point out that he has many years' experience as a federal prosecutor and a federal public defender, which means he's experienced not only in putting criminals behind bars, but also can understand what happens when government overreaches. That used to be something for the last 4 years that the Democrats extolled as they were putting federal public defenders on the bench. But now all of a sudden they condemn that kind of experience at the very same time that Joe Biden is committing a total perversion of justice by giving his son the most sweeping pardon in modern American history. It's a pretty stark contrast for the Democrats.
One of the things, I won't ask to play for it because it was from the previous hour, we didn't get to it, but Andrew McCabe, the former acting FBI director, he said that Kash Patel he is profoundly unqualified for this job, and it's not even like a matter for debate. But there is going to be a debate. Do you expect him to get confirmed?
Well, Andrew McCabe is probably scared that someone like Kash Patel is going to come into the FBI and expose the wrongdoing of partisans who had taken over senior positions. And as far as qualifications go, whether it's Andrew McCabe or Democratic senators, I would just ask, what were Pete Buttigieg's qualifications to be the Secretary of Transportation? Or did they complain when Joe Biden put a cross-dressing luggage thief in charge of critical nuclear programs? Kash Patel has a long record in law enforcement and intelligence. That's exactly the kind of qualifications you would expect for an FBI director. I expect the Senate to move forward with his nominations and all of Donald Trump's nominees efficiently and promptly when we take charge on January 3rd.
Senator, thank you for your time. Tom
Great to
Cotton,
see you.
yeah, the Republican from Arkansas. Thank you.